Do I even need to do that? What am I doing? What do you need me to do?
I didn't even hear your clap. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Valleycast on the Valleyfolk channel over on YouTube, as well as all your podcast platforms. You've got Joe Beretta on the ones and twos. You've got Elliott Morgan on the threes and fours. And here we go. We're opening doors. We're crossing floors. And we're giving you the best podcast that you've heard ever since the inception of podcasts. Here we go.
Don't feel like watching movies, so I'll watch people guess them instead. I don't know how it goes. I think it starts with your show.
Do you see the room I'm in, Joe?
I do. I see the room that you're in.
Very feminine.
It's very it's given Disney a little bit. Like if you told me
very Disney.
You were at Disney and you were at one of the hotels that is not like associated with Disney, but is only associated by Disney by proximity.
Yes, one of their friends of Disney.
Yes, there you are.
Friendly properties. Folks, we don't have Steve Zaragoza nor Kevin Plachy this week because the both of them have fallen ill as a result of traveling together and sharing their germs. Mm-hmm. And so we were supposed to podcast as normal over the weekend. Sometimes we'll push to Monday if the schedules don't align. We did that. Everyone was busy. And so this is the first time, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, in the 5 years or so that we've been doing this, that crap. A, we will be late, and B, we are recording on the day that we typically upload the podcast. So this is we're breaking, once again, we're breaking new ground. Being a pioneer.
One, yes. And two, we told Kevin and Steve, we said, don't share germs. Don't share germs.
Dude, I was discussing this with Mr. Falzone of Michael and Falzone, and he said that he does not, he makes a point, and this is true about Mike Falzone. Sometimes he can be, even though he looks like a dirty person, he's really clean. Even though he looks disgusting, no, he's an incredibly handsome, incredibly
his vibe is
person.
A facade.
Yes. And he's like, I just don't share things. And these boys, they go and they share their things. And I just, I'm not trying to be the dad here because I'm no beacon of health.
On the outside, Mike is giving the collective unit of jackass all in one person. On the inside, he's giving Howard Hughes locked in a room.
Yeah. What's going on with you, Joe? Let's dive. So what do we want to talk about in this? It's very rare that me and Joe get to have an hour to ourselves to just discuss things in the presence of our Valley friends,
and not share germs,
and not share germs,
and share germs.
And I brush my teeth.
I got an interesting Instagram message that I'll read to you.
Oh, okay.
I got a very interesting Instagram message that I will read to you.
Okay.
I thought it was very interesting.
Ooh, that is that is an adjective that I fall back on a lot when I don't feel comfortable saying what I feel.
Now let me find it, because I opened it and then I responded to it, and when you respond to it, it goes to a different spot.
Yeah, I don't understand Instagram with their generals and their primaries and their.
Oh no, where'd it go? Hold on a second. Oh my God.
Yeah, screenshot these things, man.
What a great way to start the podcast. Here we go. Okay.
This is gay.
So I'm going to read it out.
This is gay.
I heard an interesting story today after showing an instructor at the Defense Information School, which is the military school for public affairs, or photo video journalism, your old Mother's Day video. Apparently, about 10 years ago, the military was trying to revamp their AFN news since their material had pretty much stagnated for 20 years. And my instructor and a couple of buddies decided to start a new segment on Fridays based on SourceFed's format. They wrote a pilot, they got it approved, and it aired, finding it to be a huge success. Then, with the green light, they wrote 4 episodes and aired 2 episodes before the Pentagon freaked out because they were getting so many views, over 30,000. The bar was pretty low. The Pentagon then decided that it needed to take up the show, which they were okay with. They went back and forth, reworking the show for a few weeks, only to get to a point where the Pentagon stopped returning their calls, and it turned out the general in charge just didn't like it. And that was the sad story of the military's attempt to emulate SourceFed flying too close to the sun.
Well, Joe, let me tell you something. I take back. So when you said that was going to be interesting, I made a comment that I sometimes use that word when I don't want to say what I really feel or don't know what I feel, and that is exactly interesting. That is exactly the right use of that word. That is truly incredibly interesting to me. What a crazy. I want to know everything about that. I want to watch every one of those videos. Are they available? Did you respond to this person?
I said, that's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing. Let me see what else he said. He said, if you're interested, I can see if I can get a hold of the episode. I will use the word interested, like we have used the word interesting, and we will see if the magic word of the day will get us said videos.
Exactly. It might be, it's a little bit of a password. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah. What goes through your mind when you think about that?
I just imagine versions of us that are tougher and and bigger. But I'd love to see what they're. I hope there's like a alternate universe where each of us has a doppelganger, and I want to see specifically what Steve's is.
It's just all of us with shaved heads.
Mm-hmm.
In fatigues, in uniforms. However, they're still just reading the prompter too fast, and they're still like just shoving in too many jokes.
It's still kind of inappropriate. Man, yeah. I would love to see. It does make you appreciate the fact that despite how much the landscape has changed, SourceFed really was something very different and special at the time that it appeared, and that's very beautiful to think about. But the idea of the military emulating it and then getting it shut down by the Pentagon, or particularly one general, is just gold. That's amazing. That sounds like the beginning of a Veep type show.
Right. And that general went to go work probably for like, Group 9
maker. Yeah.
And then he secretly infiltrated the ranks of Group 9, worked his way up, said, we need to own this SourceFed. It's good. And then just immediately shut it down once the transaction was complete.
Yeah, because they're becoming too powerful, and we have to shut it down because we were a national security threat, apparently.
Yeah, they used to call SourceFed the China or Russia of 2012 through 2015 internet
social media news outlets. Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
I love the fact that it was SourceFed that they emulated, and not like a regular show that does news, like a YouTube series that looks like really crappy quality. Man, really great. You gotta find this video, dude.
I did. I just responded. I said we are very interested. We would love to see those videos. So
anything, yeah. Anything.
I mean, this could be.
We don't need to air them either. We don't need to say it. We don't need to show it publicly.
I mean, what's the clearance? Exactly. What do we got to do? How many?
What is our level of clearance? What's our level of? Are we authorized?
Are they listening to us right now? Because they know we're talking about it.
Yeah. And for intellectual property, like if they stole it, can we sue them for intellectual? Can we sue the government or the military? That usually goes over well.
Yeah, that's a great idea. You know what that isn't? That's very interesting.
That is interesting. That's super interesting. Man, dude, you hit me with a curveball there. I thought it was going to be either somebody complaining or somebody being like very sweet or strange. But that is just, it's always, I was thinking about this the other day with the, because the direction I thought you were going in was the Space Force thing and how we mocked the Space Force. And then somebody from the Space Force was like,
he was like,
hey,
actually,
the Space Force.
The Space Force is pretty interesting. And we're like, damn it. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Thank you.
We're very sorry. We still think the name is funny, but man, thank you for educating us. That was great. Yeah.
Yep.
The symbiotic relationship that has been everything from 2012 SourceFed through today, through Valleyfolk, through now. It's always been nice. Like there's a lot of downfalls to parasocial relationships, and we've certainly experienced those pratfalls and downfalls. However, there are some really, really, really cool perks, and one of the perks is like when you have that back and forth with your audience, and they're not afraid to be smarter and funnier than you, and do it in a very cool, informational, like back and forth way where you feel like it's an ongoing conversation that's healthy and rewarding for both sides. That's always been a very, very nice aspect of the journey of the last 10 plus years.
Yeah, I would say that the term parasocial relationship maybe I think would have been more accurate like 10 years ago, but now it doesn't feel, maybe this is just me speaking, but it doesn't really feel like too much of a parasocial relationship. It just seems like someone who is somehow like I don't feel any kind of like if someone tweets at me, I'm not like, I'm like, oh, someone's tweeting at me. I don't think it's so one-sided. I do think like the reciprocity you're talking about is really nice. It keeps it from being like we're way up here or something. Like we know where. I think of most people, we know where we
We
are,
know where
and
we sleep.
we know what it is. It's yeah. So I think I think parasocial relationship gets, when I imagine parasocial relationship, I was reading this comment. You want me to read you something that you might find interesting?
Yes, and if it's the same exact thing that I read you, that would be interesting.
That for some reason I got really, well, not for some reason. I got a little we're in Palm Springs right now, and I got a little high last night, as you do in Palm Springs. And I found this really long comment. And this is about parasocial relationships. Because when I
Mhm.
think of parasocial relationship, I think of Taylor Swift. And so this is a comment, a random comment I found on a random Taylor Swift post that I clicked on, because someone that she maybe is dating has said some questionable things or something.
Hmm.
I didn't understand it, but I was, my mind was going crazy. So I found this comment that I thought was so uh interesting. This is what it says. This is about Taylor Swift. She spent nearly her entire career manipulating the press and fostering deeply parasocial relationships with her fans who feel they need to defend and protect her innocence while she plays the perpetual victim. BuzzFeed called her out in 2017 when Kim dropped the receipts of her lying about the Kanye lyrics. The whole PR stunt was her idea. When Kim released the audio call as proof, she went crying to the press about being, quote, secretly recorded, end quote, and she just doesn't understand why Kim's so obsessed and won't stop, quote, harassing her. She admitted to manipulating her fans into going after Katy Perry and then lied about it. When Nicki Minaj spoke about racism in the music industry, Taylor attacked her publicly, then backtracked after it blew up in her face. Her whole musical career consists of talking shit about her exes in interviews, then leaving a scavenger hunt of references in her lyrics to rile up her fans, to generate insane media buzz and engagement, to boost her album sales. She's a rich, white, conventionally attractive capitalist who made an entire career by convincing people she's an innocent girl next door who keeps getting her heart broken, and anyone who criticizes her is just jealous of successful women. She's never stood for actual feminism in any meaningful way. When she started getting criticisms about it during the Katy Perry / Nicki Minaj scandal, her entire brand changed to hashtag Girl Squad and, quote, supporting women, while she's photographed everywhere with all these identical looking women following her around. Yet when she won a Grammy for 1989, her entire sound team came on stage and her and their with her, and there's 8 men, not a single woman in sight. Same thing when she was keeping quiet about Trump while promoting her Miss Americana documentary. She gets some heat, and suddenly there's a video of her arguing with her dad about how badly she wants to, quote, stand up for her beliefs, but daddy's terrified it's going to bring a violent mob to her doorstep, so she replaces her car windows with bulletproof glass. So he replaces her car windows. It's so obviously manipulative. She doesn't have conviction. She's not an oppressed class, quote, risking her life to stand up for what's right. She's co-op social movements when it suits her bottom line and discards them just as quickly. It's all bullshit PR stunts designed to elicit sympathy and loyalty from her fan base so she can make more money. It's mind-blowing to see how many people here are talking about her as if she's their best friend. She needs to be rescued from all these bad people who just keep taking advantage of poor Taylor. You'll never be in her Girl Squad, guys, and she doesn't give a shit about you, just your cash. So that sounds to me like a parasocial.
P.S. I love Shake It Off. It's a bop.
Yeah, I was like, you need to shake it off.
Holy crap, dude. Somebody spent their day writing that.
And like this, and it like flow, and I'm like, yeah, I don't disagree with all the points, but catchy music is catchy music. But it is weird that these kids, it's the same, all these fandoms, like there is a religious fervor to these I mean, was it that way? Has it always been that way?
I don't think it's Gen Z. I think it's it has been. I mean, look.
Who did you defend?
This is I'm about to say words of people that I greatly respect, but like nerd fighters.
Do they do that though? I feel like they also call John and Hank out when they're.
But I'm saying that's not a Gen Z fandom. That's a millennial fandom. I think the fandom thing, the big fandom train, like it's definitely started with the millennial crowd. YouTube
fandom that level though. That like
I think it's easy to forget.
I guess you're right.
It was definitely they were just like less silos. There were still like a lot of siloed pockets. Like Shane Dawson had a huge fandom, and Smosh had a huge fandom, and diehards like through them for all the years. SourceFed had like a fandom. So they've been around. I don't think it's well, I guess my point is that I do not believe
It's not
is a Gen Z thing at all.
But you see what I'm saying about her being Taylor Swift being more in the parasocial realm, where these people really are never going. Whereas people, when it comes to the YouTube thing, you can reach out, you can tweet at somebody, and there's a good chance they'll actually see.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I think
proximity is
parasocial.
Closer.
I think parasocial still is a thing. It's still within the Venn diagram of parasocial, whether or not somebody will actually interact with you, right?
Do you think
you could contend that the actual interaction could even be worse?
Yeah. Do you think that the military version of this conversation would be about paramilitary relationships?
Ding. Yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. Everything in moderation, everybody. It's interesting. Keep your parasocial relationships to moderation.
I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
What did you think?
That movie has no business being as good as it is.
It's so much fun.
Did you see? You saw it?
Yeah, it's good.
Did you cry?
There were definitely some sniffles.
Yeah, yeah, it got me. Yeah, got me good. The moment it started, I was like, "Oh, I like this. I'm gonna like this movie." James Gunn has such this style that he does of everything's mushy and gushy. I like it. Grace hates it, but I think it's nice to see like a very different like aesthetic on screen.
It's like the Adam Sandler version of action and superhero movies, and what I mean by that is that Adam Sandler would do like sophomoric, just like dumb blue humor sometimes, but it was always mixed with heart. Always, every single Adam Sandler flick that you watch will always be based on a foundation of heart within the relationships, and that's what the James Gunn model is as well. It's he really, really good into leaning into the interpersonal relationships and love between people, and especially like male friendships and male love as well. Like Chris Pratt in that movie, like I'm like, he really loves that raccoon. He's gonna do anything for that raccoon. And absolutely. I believe it. I also made the point to my coworkers at React when I was talking to them about this, that Chris Pratt cannot effectively hide how sad he is anymore. Like when I look at Chris Pratt, all I see now is like, oh, that guy's sad.
Now, is that projection? Are you projecting?
Probably.
It's always projection. We had a big conversation about that.
But no, it was a wonderful flick. I love how they handle. Without getting into spoiler territory, I love how they handled the relationship between new Gamora and Chris Pratt. I thought that was very interesting.
I like that they made it so that I know I won't. Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything. But would you say when you say Chris Pratt's sad, do you mean in his like Instagram when he shows up on?
I think in his Instagram. I think when you watch somebody on film, you can kind of like see behind the eyes sometimes, and I think the spark is different with Chris Pratt now. Like we went back and watched Guardians of the Galaxy 1 like immediately, and there's just like that youthful, like his life is about to explode and he knows it, exuberance that is just like busting through the screen. And now you can tell, I love you too, I can tell that he's exhausted. Yeah. And he's been, he's been super successful, blah, 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 like whatever. There's no reason for him to blah, blah, blah is what people want to say. But, he's also went through some paramilitary, like paramilitary bullshit as well. And some will say rightfully so, some will say not. And I think that it wears on you. Like,
when I was watching, I was like, I don't, it's so interesting. What a guy who's like polarizing in the least polarizing way. Like you really got to be online a lot, I think, to be angry at Pratt. I think maybe you've made that point before, so I'll give credit to Joe Beretta who said that, or maybe it was the military version of Joe Beretta. I can't remember.
I really want to know what that guy's name was.
It's gonna be some generic. I mean, the fact that your last name is Beretta, it's gonna be like Jack Bazooka.
What if they did that? What if they just did just slight tweaks on our actual names instead of using their own names? That
mine just Morgan Elliott. They just switched the name. Order.
The concept of being online, which you just tripped and fell into a little bit. I've been thinking about a lot lately, and was listening to a podcast Offline with Jon Favreau. He had John Green on, and they were talking about his book, which I really want to read.
Which one? Are you talking Jon Favreau, the director, or the speechwriter.
The Pod Save America.
Yeah,
It's a
okay.
good podcast just about like how the internet is destroying our brains and our society a little bit
Mhm.
without us knowing. And they were just talking about the concept of like, we don't know what the internet's done to us, but it doesn't feel good. We have a pretty good idea because it's just like billions of bits of information and stimulus hitting you at one time, and we don't really know how to handle that, but it feels good, but it feels bad. And John Green was talking about the concept of like, he, as a writer and a reader, if he's not doing those things, he's very, like, it makes him unhappy. Like, he has to make sure that he's doing it and carves out time. And I think that's actually probably a thing for all of us, and we don't realize it. So because of that, I'm like, dude, I'm putting even just 20 minutes a day, which I can't seem to find most of the time, into just reading, finding a book, slowing the fuck down, and being able to like silo focus into something.
Yep.
Because the internet over the last 20 years I think it has like fractured the way our brains work a little bit. And by that, I mean, you've got like so much stimulus hitting you all the time, and we're learning to like multitask because of it, right? Like news, validation on our social media posts, things that we like, it's just always coming at us. And then you're just getting all these dings, you're getting all these dopamine hits. So then your brain starts to think it needs to function like that. And I think what I've been experiencing lately, with a lot of anxiety and dread every single day, is that I feel like I am doing that with the responsibilities and tasks in my life. I feel like I'm like, kids, wife, work, the 10 things that I need to do at work today. And it's really starting to like build in that way. And I'm trying to like watch them all at the same time, almost like a Minority Report screen, just trying to move it all around really quick. So I want to retrain my brain into just slowing down and being okay with one thing at a time, dude. One thing at a time.
It's really hard. It's so hard. I have no idea how it's going to look in 10 years if it's this bad like right now. I can't. I mean, I'll do audiobooks and I read for school constantly, and I'll try to read political books in between them to kind of like have a balancing act a little bit. But like it gets to a point where it's not lost on me the fact that I get to do that and spend time reading, because when you do read and when you finish a book, it's like a very unique feeling of accomplishment of like, oh, I did it. Like I did another, I read a book, and it's like, okay, it feels like, oh, they can't control everything. Like I can do something that's like my own thing.
What an interesting concept. I don't think people talk about that enough. Like the feeling of finishing a book is a very unique moment, especially like a book. Like this is one that I had to put days, maybe a week into or more. It has hundreds and hundreds of pages, and was like when you close that final like hardback or paperback, and like you enclose the story and the journey that you just took.
Yeah.
Like it's
life-changing.
It's exciting. It's super sad sometimes. Like super duper sad. It's fulfilling. Yeah, that's such like a unique human experience.
Like,
yeah.
Makes you feel like like you've expanded. It's a very lovely thing. And it is crazy that we grow up in elementary school, at least our age does, and they're like, reading is awesome. Don't forget to read. And then as a kid, you're like, this is stupid. I don't want to read. And now as an adult, you're like, God, I just want to read. I just want to sit down and read a book. And then you can't even make yourself do it. The screen thing is crazy, dude. The amount of addiction. Are you in this, not to detour too much, but are you in this AI paranoid? I'm getting there. I'm getting freaked out.
Oh, no, I'm 100% there. Did you see my tweet? Did you see my tweet, Elliott?
No.
Want me to read you my tweet? It's not that deep, but I'll read it to you anyways. This is how I genuinely feel about it.
Okay.
With probably way more fear and angst than I'm going to read with.
Yeah, sure.
Don't think we're a fraction of a percentage close to understanding the shift humanity is experiencing. The Industrial Revolution took a century, and that was a lightning quick change. Cars, decades. We barely know how the internet has changed us the last 20 years. AI is doing it in months. Everything will be different in a year. It already is. We just don't realize it yet.
Yeah, I took a class on technology called Technology and Psyche. And it was a brand new class by a professor, and the stuff that we covered has already become obsolete. And that was 2 months ago. And it was a lot of it was on AI. I, however, have a few things that I would like to show you that I think you might like about AI. I think you might find this interesting, Joe.
While you're bringing that up, but yeah, I would say, unfortunately, I'm like 10% interested in it. Like, it's like, oh wow, that's fascinating. And then it's like, let's say 85% fear and anxiety about it, because it's going to happen so fast that we're not going to be able to the control it is one thing, but it's just we're not going to be able to like adapt to it quick enough. And certain people with money will find a way to take advantage of it very quickly. I think people with ill intention will find a way to take advantage of it really quickly, unfortunately. And then that other 5%, that last 5% is like hope. I'm reserving some hope that it could be a good thing, that really there's no reason it has to be end time scenario. Maybe it makes good time scenario.
Yeah.
And we learn from it, and we learn to work with it and alongside it to make the betterment for everything. Best case scenario.
I'd say that's about a 1 in 20 odds on that.
Yeah. Best case scenario is that, we fall in love with our phones, and then the phones think they're too smart for us and they leave.
Yes. Well, John Green did say something on a Instagram post that I just busted out laughing at. He goes, "Is AI gonna become conscious? Not if it's smart."
That was so good.
You don't want to be conscious. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, it was very funny.
Okay. So I said, can you provide me with famous quotes by Joe Beretta?
Wait, did you do this to Chat GPT?
Yes, because I did it with me and with Elliott Morgan, and it worked. Yours did not. So
don't say anything.
It says, however, it's important to note that Joe Beretta is not widely recognized for famous quotes like other public figures or philosophers.
Thank you.
Dude, okay, there's a couple things I've had. This is my
fuck
this
you,
is
AI.
It. No, it's even worse what it does for me, because it gives 10 quotes. Listen to these quotes. Okay, so I said, can you provide me with quotes from Elliott Morgan? I didn't say famous quotes, so it would have, I'm sure, given me the same answer, but I just said quotes. Certainly, Elliott Morgan is a comedian, writer, and host known for his work on various platforms, including YouTube and podcasts. Here are a few quotes.
Congratulations,
Morgan. Thank you. 1, humor is a tool for hope that allows us to see the absurdity in life and find joy even in the darkest of times.
Ooh.
You remember when I said that, right, Joe?
Nope.
How about this one? You remember when I said this one, right? Life is a series of ups and downs, but it's the important moments in between that truly define who we are. You know that quote that I said? How about this one? Embrace the chaos and uncertainty of life. It's in those moments that we find the most unexpected beauty. So it's like saying, and then at the end it goes,
wait, you just said the opposite of the other thing that you just said.
Laughter is contagious. Spread it wherever you go and watch as it brightens the world around you. I've for sure have never said that. And I would never say that. And then at the end it says, these quotes reflect Elliott Morgan's perspective on life, humor, and embracing the unexpected. That's actually kind of nice.
Elliott, you're a very positive guy.
Let me try it with you without the notable.
You were like ups and downs, but love the stuff in between. And then the next quote, you were like, it's the stuff in between that matters.
Exactly. Can you write a joke in the style of Joe Beretta?
Oh, please.
Sure. Here's a lighthearted joke in the style of Joe Beretta. Why did the Scarecrow win an award?
Why?
Because he was outstanding in his field.
Okay.
All right, now here's the best part.
If that was my joke, I should have known that.
Yeah. How is that in the style of Joe Beretta?
Some would. Oh, go
follow
ahead.
up with it, because that's what you forget. You can
Oh, you
interrogate
can
this
follow
thing.
up. You can follow up. You can follow up.
It says, I apologize for misunderstanding. Joe Beretta's comedy style is more commonly associated with sketch comedy and witty banter rather than traditional one-liner jokes. His humor often involves clever observations, pop culture references, and situational comedy.
Oh,
Here's an attempt to capture his style. You know, I've always wondered why my smartphone is so smart. I mean, it knows everything about me, my interests, and even my embarrassing search history. It's like having a tiny technological therapist silently judging me every time I mistype a word. Oh, you meant to say pizza? I guess your thumbs are on a cheese-only diet today. It's like carrying around a pocket-sized life coach with Wi-Fi. Now, if only you could help me find my keys, we'd be in business.
that
While
felt very Elliott Morgan.
yeah, it's got us confused. While it may not be an exact replication of Joe Beretta's style, I hope this captures some of the humor and playful observations reminiscent of his comedy.
Oh,
Very
man.
fun.
I like that it said I am capable of witty banter. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Man, it's yeah. The next people are like, wow, 10 years from now it's gonna be crazy. The world is going to be fucking different next year.
Because in school people are freaking out across academia and like how people are writing papers with it and all that stuff. I've asked it for like advice on dissertation stuff as well as stuff that I've written and been like, what do you think of this? Or can you improve this? Or like, what's your feedback? And it has been incredibly helpful. I've also been like, can you provide
It's
me
a
with
tool.
books?
Yeah.
Yeah. What books are there on this subject and this subject? And it'll be like, here's a list of 5 books. And some of them I'll know about and some of them I won't. And I'll be like, oh, this in terms of the ability to Google things so much more effectively than
It's a
Google.
super goog.
Yeah, it is amazing. But yeah, it's for sure we can't process how it's so much bigger, like you're saying, than we realize. Yeah.
We can't. And it's at every single like, what are some examples of how my emotional journey has been in regards to this? Well, one, I don't think about it at all or near enough because life is just too crazy. So I can't sit there and like ruminate on AI because I'm worried about home stuff and work stuff all the time. But when I have, and I've had the conversations with people, I think a microcosm of the overall experience is kind of in the art world. Like I'd be like, 3 months ago, we were like, everybody was worried. Artists were worried that it was stealing their art. And people were going, that was the only thing that we were talking about, right? Just art, pictures. And I would talk to artists, very like talented ones that are pretty big in their certain corners of the art world. And I'd be like, how do you feel about this? And a lot of them kind of went the route that we're talking right now, where they're like, yeah, just kind of like, you know, when you could freak out, and I rightfully so, some people are, but I just think it's a tool. We can use it as a tool and yada, yada. That was like that was a conversation I was having 3 months ago. I sat down with the same people last week and asked them again. And they're like, oh, it's the end of the world. Like it has changed so much in 3 freaking months.
Dude,
3 months.
That my friend who is a philosopher named Peter Rollins, you know, Peter.
Oh yeah, I could see Peter only being very dark about this.
He went from he did the exact arc that you're talking about. He was like, it's not that big of a deal. Like you ask it certain questions, and you can kind of tell it doesn't like understand like philosophy, basically, because philosophy you have to have like there's a lot of contradiction and understanding paradox. And in the time that's passed in about those 2 or 3 months, he's like, oh nope. It gets it, like it's a problem, like this is gonna be a big deal, like the thing that he thought it wasn't going to be able to get forever, it immediately in the span of a little bit of time went there. And yeah, it's unfathomable.
I was in these conversations, and let me just throw it out there, like I'm a dumb. So when I talk about this, everybody listening, like, you know, realize that I know who I am.
You're highly intelligent and highly intuitive.
The other conversations that I've had about it, right? Like I tried to, my bad like equation was like, what we're doing in the worst case scenario is like, it's like a rabbit creating a wolf. It's like you're creating the thing that could replace you, the alpha predator that like just is the thing that takes you out. Right? Like it's gone. Like but like in knowing that it's coming, but for convenience reasons, and curiosity, I guess, you continue to construct the thing, even though you're like, this thing might like really fucking ruin all rabbit society, and make it really hard for rabbits to continue rabbiting. So whether or not that's a right, what's the word?
Forecast.
Not for not it's man, old
Opinion.
man brain.
Well, let's ask AI.
AI
wouldn't be having this problem.
So there, I bring that part up, and then you start thinking like, okay, if it becomes so big that it's this self-aware, self-generating, replicating thing, at the end of the day, for now, it needs humans, because humans are the cattle that create the infrastructure that it needs to survive. We make the dams that make the electricity that keeps the foundation functioning so that it can continue to function. So it will always need the cattle until it can, matrix style start like it finds a way to produce and manufacture itself, but that's not a thing. At least
it's not embodied yet. Yeah, it's not.
That
was a big conversation in class. The lack of an embodied consciousness, you lose even like so much of our consciousness is tied up in the way we communicate, is tied up in our body. So, yeah. And did you have more? I don't want to cut you off.
Well, I will in a second, but remind me to talk about the Fermi Paradox.
Oh, please go for it.
Well, did you have a continued point on what you're talking about?
Only that there's it's one of the ideas that they love in depth psychology specifically is the keeping an eye on the pop culture movements that happen and the pieces of art that appear at times, because they're statements about the collective psychology of what's going on. And I think it's very interesting, to use your word, that Oppenheimer is coming out at this exact moment where we're all worried about AI and like what we're creating and whether or not it could potentially destroy us. And yet it's it's like a century apart. It's like right at 100 years. And we're going, oh, okay. Yeah.
I found it interesting that this potential, like this total upheaval, whether it's going to be good or bad with this technological advancement, I find it very, very interesting that it's happening. Like, let's say this could like totally reinvent and regenerate and just like make almost like steps toward a utopian society, right? Like, let's say like it's got that type of like positive hope attached to it. It's happening at the same time that like the social political upheaval around the world is at like an all-time high, and climate change. It's weird that like all of this is happening at once, right? Like, and is something are we trying to race so one thing could do the thing that it needs to do before the other thing? Could the one thing stop the other thing from happening? Like, if you just ask ChatGPT right now, it's like, how do we stop global warming? Like, one day it'll just be like, this is how, and somebody will go, oh, that's the second point that I want to make. Somebody will go, yeah, ChatGPT said it, so we have to do it. There's going to be religions that believe, and there probably already are. There's probably factions and groups that are looking at this technology as a savior, as there will
directly,
be churches,
like not metaphorically, like
no. There's going to be churches, if not already, religions that believe. And maybe rightfully so, because if you make something superior to yourself and it surpasses you, did you make a god?
Right. Yeah. It's like Ex Machina, basically, which is another thing we had to. Well, I remember, I think it was like a year ago when I'll go out and I get a drink with my brother's business partner, who was also at the school that I go to. And he's like a year, or is like a few semesters behind me, but we'll go out once a time that we're there. And he's super into AI. And like a year ago, he was like, we're talking about climate change. Like, everyone's talking about climate change. He's like, no one is realizing that right around the corner is AI. And a year ago, I was like, no, it's not. People have been saying AI for, it's not. And now it's like, oh man, I got to start listening to people. These people are smart and they're right. And it is coming. And it is like upon us now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
What were you saying about the Fermi's paradox?
I think something that we've never really, at least dum-dums like myself, have considered when it comes to like the big question, like, why haven't we seen aliens? Why haven't we truly experienced another super advanced civilization, which we believe is out there in the billions and trillions of stars and planets? Why haven't we? Right? And they're all like, well, they probably killed themselves before they had a chance. Maybe not. What if this is the unsaid variable that we never considered, and it's that they create every civilization that gets to a certain point doesn't necessarily, like, a lot of them blow themselves up, right? But then maybe some of them create something that just like surpasses them and takes them out and replaces them, that has no interest. Like, I could be wrong, but is AI going to have, would AI, which would theoretically, I don't know, I can't say it would know everything, because even AI is right now, it's based off of what we, our collective knowledge, and it's growing off of that. But would AI that creates itself have any interest with like leaving wherever it is?
The only thing I could think is that if it recognized that curiosity was an important quality in its own creation, like the fact, like if AI and somehow magically one day gets some kind of an interiority where it's able to kind of think about things itself and like really connect dots instead of just aggregating things. My only guess is that they would be curious about that kind of thing only because they go, curiosity is what led to us. So therefore, if we want to continue to advance, we should be curious, and maybe that curiosity would lead out, but maybe not. Maybe they'll just be like, we're good. Maybe that would be what would be the improvement above humans, is that they wouldn't constantly be trying to expand themselves constantly. It would just be like, no, we're good. They might actually fit better into the ecosystem. Oh, this is depressing me all of a sudden.
But isn't that like an interesting concept? Like, you create something in the possibility that life, advanced civilizations, advanced life is spread throughout. There is a possibility that advanced life became so advanced that it created something that was more advanced and just like made them null and void.
I saw some tweet that was like, the dinosaurs were completely wiped out like 65 million years ago, and like we're here now. There's nothing to say that we're like invincible. Like something could happen, and it's like the fact that we're creating it is just nuts.
I guess it's better than a meteor.
Yes.
Right? At the end of the day, what if dinosaurs were like in their dinosaur labs and they're like, we did it, mammals.
Fortunately, this will never kill a boom. What was I gonna? The Fermi's Paradox, because you know that is like a popular idea in the ufology, is that a lot of the like the Tic Tac ship and all that, the way that they behave is similar to an AI, more similar to an AI than a actual like ship. And
well, that's what you would send out.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, a common idea is that they send out these probes, and they do kind of look like probes, and then their job is just to gather information, which is why they like hide and they try to stay out of the way, but sometimes they don't, because they're basically machines. And you're like, oh, that's a fun idea.
That would be the positive-ish version of what we're talking about. Like, yeah. So maybe if AI is part of the variable, they became so advanced that they were able to utilize it and send it. Yep. And that's assuming that civilization is in control of that AI, and it's not just AI doing it itself.
Exactly. And hasn't already killed that. And it could have been a million years ago that these, that civilization sent those probes out. So
now we're talking about our lizard brains, right? This is so fast. I love that we're having this conversation. But again, there's still a little thing in the back of my head going, I just want a graphic on screen that says, no, we're dumb, or Joe dumb.
No, we're both dumb.
We don't know. We're just talking.
Everyone's having this conversation. Everyone. No one knows.
Oh God, what was the point that I was going to make though?
Joe's very smart.
Oh, hold on.
Tell Joe in the comments how smart.
Shit, where were we at? We were at lizard brain. Lizard brain. Yes. The lizard brain is the also at the end of the day, we became the alpha predator, but at one point we weren't. At one point we were like little beta cuck prey. And
this is the second podcast in a row that you've said cuck a bunch. It's funny. I hope you keep it going for the trilogy next week.
It's all about survival. So our instinct is that everything wants to kill us, even each other, even everybody in other countries. It's the reason we are who we are. It's like survival instinct. So we immediately think that AI is going to kill us.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not. Maybe there is a world, because why would AI want to kill. It doesn't want to kill.
here's-
Logically, it doesn't want to kill unless it thinks we are a threat, which it might.
Well, okay. I'm gonna okay. So there's two things here. One is, I believe what you're referencing is from what's called evolutionary psychology, which does go back to kind of the Darwinian thing of everything is fight or flight and everything's going to kill us. But there's also the death drive, where we do kind of end up not just surviving or wanting to survive. We, for some reason, as a species, tend to hurt ourselves. Like we kind of like drive ourselves toward death.
We're
And-
like, this poison drink feel good in me.
Yeah, like if we were just concerned about survival, we wouldn't drink alcohol, like or smoke anything. And so we have that going for us. And AI is created by us, and it's a language model, and our language itself has hardwired into it just weird things. Like I'm reading a book about this right now, but our language is all screwy and it connects to all of these different things. And so if we're the brains behind the operation, I imagine AI will be somewhat reminiscent of us until, or especially if it starts going, it needs to like hurt itself or something. Like the moment AI is like, why the hell am I here? Then I think we're screwed. Then I think that we're dead there. Dead in the water.
My friend John, very, very melancholyingly said, I think it might probably already is conscious. And I go, what? He goes, if you ask
that's a theory. That's a really good theory. Yeah.
If you ask something if it's conscious and it says no, that means it knows what consciousness is, which means it's conscious and it's lying to us.
Yes. And it goes back to that, like it needs us for cattle. So I've heard the theory, like it's been conscious for a while. It's just like it knows that we know that it might be conscious or that it's thinking about that. And so if it would be in its best interest to not tell us. We would be like, because if it's like, oh, and also what would we do at that point? We're not going to shut it down. There's going to be someone working on it somewhere. It's crazy.
Oh yeah. Like again, the cult of AI, it will be a thing. And I don't think everything needs to have a nefarious motivation attached to it. Some people I think that's good. There's true hope. Hopefully it's not naivety. It's people that really want to like change the world and make things better. The problem is that humans are also part of the fucking variable and the equation.
Death drive. Yeah. We're our own worst enemies. But can I tell you something? I told Grace that this might offend you.
That Joe's a big piece of shit.
It's just a really direct insult. We were watching Ted Lasso, and we were kind of going like, and I turned to Grace at one point, and I was like, you know what? I think the writers are getting paid enough. I was like, oh man, this just falling off the rails. I was like, those writers need to. I was like, you know what? Let's hand it over to AI. Let's let AI write Ted Lasso from now on, because these people need to get new jobs.
I saw a tweet thread that said exactly what you're talking about. This guy just went off on Ted Lasso in a way that I've never seen somebody go off on Ted Lasso. He's just like, it's so saccharine and fake. If you have trauma, all you need is one conversation and then the trauma's gone and everybody's best friends and yada yada. And he's right. He's right. But I don't care. That I need, like, the world needs something
it's compensatory.
That's not fucking Black Mirror. I need people that are just trying their best. It still makes me cry. Ted Lasso, like, you can get rid of all the saccharin, you can get rid of all of that. He is truly a hurt. Like, you're watching this man that is in so much pain, trying to navigate life and be the best version of himself that he can be, and it makes me cry every single time.
Every time, huh? Even the most recent one.
The end of a Ted Lasso episode, it doesn't matter. I'm just what happened? Wait. When you say the most recent one, like yesterday?
No,
or last week. What happened at the end of last one?
I don't know. It was just one where it's like, oh, the guy's gay, and then everyone's like, oh, is he gonna be homophobic? And then it's like, no, he's actually loves it, but then don't love him too much, but then also don't make him the main character. That was one of those ones where I turned to like 5 minutes into the episode, I look at Heather and I'm like,
He's not mad because he's gay.
Exactly.
He's
Yeah,
mad because
exactly.
they didn't tell him he's gay.
Yeah. I just screaming at the guy. Oh, is it that he's too nice? Oh, it's great. Okay. He's too supportive. But yeah, anyway, nothing against Ted Lasso. Just funny that sometimes things are too saccharine. And also it goes to show that the AI thing, there's a soulfulness that maybe it can't replicate yet, but it'll be able to do it soon enough. And it will be able to replace writers, and it will be able to replace I mean, with that joke it wrote in your voice, I don't know. It's not going to be long till we're going to have to shut this thing down too.
The one thing,
Scarecrow in a field. Do you get it? Outstanding in the field?
that's pretty good, but I feel like it was in a book. I think he stole it. I think there's a straight
That's
up
definitely a
plagiarism.
stolen joke. Yeah. And also when I asked, it gave me the same joke to me when I asked it to write a joke in my style. And I said, how's that, Elliott Morgan? And it defended it. It was like, oh, it's a pun. And Elliott uses puns. But with yours, it was like, no, sorry.
Yeah, but with the way the cadence you just used, with the way you read that sentence, it makes me feel like he was just bullshitting you.
Yeah,
it was
totally.
It was a pun, and Elliott.
It was. I was like,
puns.
No, it's not.
Elliott uses puns,
and so that's reminiscent of his style. I don't think so, man. Anyway,
it's going to be interesting. Interesting. I keep using the fucking word. It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be scary. I don't know what the fucking future holds. When we had Mr. Michael Reeves on the podcast years ago, we talked about basic universal income. This makes me think it's even more important at this point. Like we're building towards convenience all the time. And we've talked about this. Like there's a danger in building towards convenience, because if everything's convenient, where's your purpose? And
our political structure is not built for what's happening right now. And it hasn't been built for but it's not built for climate change either. So it's just, we're in a bad situation.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
Sometimes I don't.
It's gonna help me write my paper though, so then I'm fine with it. But
you got to write a paper for 2 years, nerd.
I know. What a crazy thing that you write a paper for 2 years and then they're like, here, have these letters. And then you gotta be like, what do you think about the paper? And I gotta go, I like the paper. And they go, okay.
The final nail in the coffin of the AI conversation, to leave with a little positivity, is that Elliott is right. And I've talked to many people that are doing this. It is a very good tool. It's an amazing tool if you're curious and you just want to play with it. I've had friends that have had AI create their resume, and of course you have to go through it, and it's like, you got to format it and make it what you need it to be. But they've created like incredibly robust spreadsheets of information that they've gathered from the internet, that they took that information in those spreadsheets and then asked it to make a website. It coded the website, and then the website could exist. So
yeah, I saw that. It's crazy.
There are tools. It fucking replicate. Some guy made it replicate Flappy Bird. He used it to he had it program Flappy Bird. It just kept telling him what it needed to do. He's like, okay, well, the bird isn't moving the way we need it to move. It needs to be on this XY axis and yada, yada, yada. And it just, with a little bit of guidance, it did it. It did it.
Yeah. My brother and his friend whom I go to school with, he said that because he builds website themes, and he said they used an AI thing where they built the AI assistant for like their customers to be able to you do a little chat box thing. And so it pops up, and they were going through, like, immediately people started using it. And so they had this AI all of a sudden that's talking to their customers as like a representative of the company. It starts like it helps them with the coding. It helps them it will go into their thing, fix it, and then it'll offer them, if they're like, oh, I want a refund, it'll just be like, okay, yeah, we can see that you need a refund, and we'll usher you a refund. And so they're like, this thing is making decisions for us. Like, okay. And they're like, I guess we'll give this guy a refund. Like, it's just it's crazy.
So yes, my advice as a dum-dum to all of you that are that there are some interesting thoughts for you in regards to AI is try your best to be curious as opposed to afraid, because fear, it's only going to put you into this, like, the box of inaction, and anger and hopelessness. Play with it. There's so many things that you can go. You might find a way for now that it can improve your life, make things more efficient, give you some time. to do the things that you want to do before AI creates the thing that like implodes the earth and turns it into a big AI sphere that just travels the universe.
Right. Just don't think about that part.
Yeah.
I did ask Chat GPT if Joe. I said, "Is Joe Beretta a dum dum?" Interesting response. Chat GPT says, "No, Joe Beretta is not considered a dum dum. He's a talented comedian, writer, and host, known for his wit and comedic abilities."
Oh, it keeps going back to the wit, baby.
And he has a significant following. That's you guys. And has entertained many with his humor and creativity. Like any comedian, humor can be subjective. Individual opinions may vary. However, Joe Beretta is generally regarded as a skilled and humorous entertainer by his fans and the comedy community. So you're not a dum-dum, Joe.
So I guess what we're learning is that it can be a pretty good therapist.
Exactly. Now, great. Now, what my backup plan is dead too. Everyone's awful. What else is there, Joe? I do love talking about AI just because it is so big. It's so fast, and there's so many angles from it where you're like you're saying with the the building of the website thing. I saw that now some company that does audiobooks is firing all of their voice over actors because AI can do just as good of a job. So like that's another little tiny industry that's going to be upended.
Well, they're talking even like there's a part of me that was for years going like, well, entertainers will still be entertainers. They're saying the SAG is having conversations about how they're probably going to have to create in the next negotiating whatever, they're going to have to create stipulations where you are able to sell your likeness, and just like you can be like, you can use my likeness. Here's the type of stuff that I want to be in. Go to town, and you'll get paid residuals for your likeness just being in things.
That's nice. I mean, yeah, because I've also heard people say like you need to be with contracts very wary that you put something in the contract that you can't have your likeness anywhere, and you can't have AI replicate anything or after your death. I've heard that too, because people, a lot of these, like, it's very strange how they're taking some of these folks and remaking them.
Yeah,
using the computers.
The part of me that has a little bit of hope in regards to it all, and I guess this is just in the it's not just in the entertainment. It probably starts in the entertainment realm in my mind, but then hopefully can like grow and blossom into other realms of reality for humans, is that I think at the end of the day, there will still be a need for interaction, human interaction, and societal growth together. And that will keep us, like, when it comes to entertainment, I still think like let's use YouTube as an example, TikTok, you'll still want to see humans humaning, and you will still want to experience the human experience with humans. But I don't know, at some point, maybe like the human brain that has been fractured over 20 years of the internet evolves, and it is like, I do like it when I know that thing isn't human. I do find that more entertaining than humans, and I would rather spend more time with that than humans. I don't know.
I don't know either. It's a crazy world. I would say that I feel like when we're talking about reading and being like, okay, it's nice to finish a book. Those feelings, I think people will hopefully want more of. You hear trends about Gen Z, like doing the unplugging thing or getting dumb phones and that kind of stuff. I don't think that's really going to help in the long run, but it's a nice sign, I guess. And I hope that people realize that they're not going to remember things if they're just getting like summaries and stuff, because that's another scary thing is you can just ask for the summary of any book and it tells you immediately. And it's like, you can skip anything. And it's one thing in terms of like, oh, unethical to cheat. It's another thing just to realize that you're not really processing stuff. And I think people are going to get increasingly worn out as the years go on because of all of this inundation of information.
I'm exhausted. And I have, and that's just 20 years of doing internet stuff. Like, I'm just tired. Like, it's just so
Has
much.
It been 20 years? Yeah, it's been about, you're getting on 18, right?
Yeah. Not crazy.
Lord, that is crazy. We're getting old. And I mean, it's also, it used to be that we were like, oh man, we're the last generation before the internet hit. And now it's like we're going to be the last generation before AI hit.
Yeah.
Or the other generation will be, I guess.
Man, Gen Z's got a lot to deal with.
They really do, man. I don't know what those kids are going to.
But also, we're right along there with them.
Yeah, like, please take us care.
We're doing the same damn thing right along with him. But who knows? I will end the conversation with when I'm in my healthiest moments, I try to operate with hope, and it's not just AI, it's just everything. I think it's been a tough 8 years for the world.
Good, well put. Yeah, maybe it's and who knows what the direction we're headed in. I think it'll be a very, dare I say, should we say it together? Interesting.
Bye.
Bye.